Hey guys, welcome to this edition of MMA Rants and Raves. Oh boy, I'm telling you, this weekend, really blew me away. I have to give credit where credit is due. Strikeforce really put on a good show. I mean, Saturday night, they really put on some good fights. They're supposedly, they don't have the greatest talent, allegedly, and the greatest fighters, but, these were good fights, and I saw some talent. These guys, this organization has some talent there. But I'm not really here to talk about that. Partially, what I'm here to talk about is of course, the main event, the Fedor and Rogers fight. And I'm telling you guys, this fight really cemented my belief in what I'm about to say right now. And you may disagree with me, but I'm going to make a statement, and that statement is that Fedor Emelianenko is the greatest athlete to ever live. This guy is just unbelievable, and I can't believe that it's happening in my generation, because I've seen many great athletes come and go, and I've read about them, the ones that were before my time, that were spoken upon in awe and all that. But this guy is just it's just incredible. It's just incredible. I mean, how many people continue to doubt him? He's such a humble guy. And this guy was no joke. They say, he used to change tires and all that. The guy's 10-0. He's beaten some great fighters. He beat a former UFC champion, Arlovski, and just destroyed him in seconds. Just blew the guy away. He knocked out Thompson. He has some great victories. This guy is the real thing. He's a very talented fighter. And that's how I come to this conclusion. I mean, it's cementing my conclusion. It's this guy that he just destroyed on Saturday night, and then these other great fighters that he's just been so dominant, destroyed many of them, been very dominant with the other ones. This basically is how I come to this conclusion. I mean, he's beaten the top fighters that were out there, and it's not just who he's beaten, it's how he does it. It's the skills that he has. I mean, I saw the punches, the punches that he was landing on this guy. And of course, you're only going to remember the knockout, like everybody remembers the Frazier and Ali knockout. But you have to look earlier in the fight. In the second round, especially early in the second round, he started landing something like 13 punches in a row. And that announcer, he didn't know what he was talking about. He said, and he's blocking them. He wasn't blocking anything. He had his hands in front of his face. This guy was getting hit in the head. Hit in the head. This guy was on some kind of show. Fedor was on some kind of show where they were trying to test his strength. He had this rear naked choke that he was doing on the host. They measured this guy's strength. He has 500 pounds of pressure in his arms. This guy, those punches are lethal. Just ask Tim Sylvia. He said, I've never been hit that hard before. You think Tim Sylvia is trying to compliment Fedor? He's speaking the truth. This guy's been hit by a lot of people. I mean, he was knocked out by Couture. He didn't say that about Couture. This guy's punches are lethal, and all they talked about was, it's Rogers' stand-up against Fedor's ground game. I mean, watch some of this guy's fights. When he knocked out Arlovski, it was with one punch. It took about 5 or 6 punches from Rogers to Arlovski to knock him out, and he was still awake. The ref stopped the fight, but he was awake. He was just stunned. But when Fedor hit Arlovski, the guy crumbled to the ground, and he looked like he was dead. The guy was out cold. This guy is a vicious, explosive striker. And it's not just that, he's got the fastest punch that I've ever seen. From 0 to 60, you want to be scientific? I mean, let them measure this, not just his rear naked choke strength. They should measure the speed of his punches in proportion to the power. I mean, it's probably the fastest. From when he cocks it to when he lets it go and hits, his punches seem to come with such velocity. And no wonder he got knocked out. How could you even block something like that? That's coming at such a speed. He didn't even know what hit him. They said, what happened? He was saying what everybody else says, what happened? He just didn't even know what hit him. It's the fastest punch. I don't say that somebody is the greatest athlete to ever live lightly. I'm giving you reasons right now. You know, that's the last thing I'm doing. I mean, he has to earn that description from me or anybody else, but he gets it because he's got the fastest, deadliest punches. He also has the strongest legs. And I'll give you an example. I mean, this is a 265-pound guy, arguably one of the biggest guys he's faced. He faced also Choi, but that's for another time. But the point is, 4:05 into the first round, he tossed Rogers down like a sack of potatoes. I mean, this is a guy who was 35 pounds heavier than he is. He just tossed him down with ease. People say, oh, it's Rogers is big, he's strong. He's not as strong as Fedor. Fedor is stronger. Look at his leg strength. What about 231 in the second round? He tossed Rogers down again on his back. He tossed him on his butt twice. You know, the stronger man should be able to grapple better. The guy's legs, they look bigger, they're more powerful. I mean, how many times do you ever see him get thrown down? I mean, in the Krokop fight, Krokop is really a strong guy. He has arguably he's definitely the greatest kicker in MMA history. He's knocked guys out with kicks. Very powerful legs. You know, Fedor was on top the whole time. He's the one that threw him down. I haven't seen a grappler knock Fedor down, except for Choi, but that was, you know, that's 365 pounds, so that's a little bit too much to ask. But it was in Fedor's strategy, and that definitely worked out for him. But, you know, let's look at another thing, too. When you say the greatest athlete to ever live, and I'm saying Fedor Emelianenko is the greatest athlete to ever live, we have to look at other sports, because athlete means basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey, even golf, I guess. But what comes to mind? I ask you guys, you know, what comes to mind? Greatest athlete to ever live: Joe Montana, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Patrick Waugh, talking about hockey, baseball, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig. That's all I can think of right now. Nolan Ryan. I mean, you know, you tell me. I'm thinking of, I just mentioned arguably some of the greatest athletes. What, Will Chamberlain is another one. Can't think of anybody else, but there are a lot of great athletes out there. But Terry Bradshaw. I'm thinking about, you know, if you take all of them, these guys, in order for them to win, how great they are, they need teammates. Even Michael Jordan. I mean, look, he had great players playing with him. He had Pippen, he had Armstrong, he had Rodman later on. I mean, some of them weren't the greatest, but some of them were star players, and they played a big role in winning. And, you know, in these other sports, if you take baseball, if you take football, you can't win on your own. You need very good defenses, you need very good teammates, you need a strong bench. And this type of sport, it's just you, man. It's you against the other guy. It's you against the other guy. And there's no breaks. It's not like basketball or it's baseball. You can't go to the dugout or to the bench and put a towel over your head when you're out of gas. And when you use the word great athlete, the greatest athletes ever, you're always going to go to specific sports. You're going to go to basketball, you're going to go to football, you'll go to baseball. And if you look at all those sports, these are sports where you have not only teammates, there are guys that are going to back you up. You can always go to the dugout or to the bench, take a break, put a towel over your head, and then you have players, you have a bench that can take up where you left off while you rest, and they can hold the fort and can do a good job. You don't have that luxury in this sport. There's no timeouts. In between rounds, you get a breather, but that's it. There's no one to take over. There's no teammate to take over. So you say greatest athlete. You know, in this particular sport, there's more of a pressure on the athlete to perform better. You got to have the cardio, and boy, does this guy have it. I've never seen him get tired on a fight. He never gets tired. That's another thing. So, I mean, all around, you know, his punches. Let's look at, you know, his leg strength, his multiple submission skills. Great at all of it. I mean, if this guy is 40 years, 50 years past his time. I mean, he would have destroyed Ali and Tyson. I'm making that statement now. There's no way they'd be able to beat this guy. He's just remarkable. And they talked about his chin, testing his chin. How many times has this guy been hit already? Look at Choi. When he got up from that first armbar, he clocked him 4 or 5 punches. You know how deadly those punches are? His face looked like Hamburger Hill. He wasn't knocked out. And Rogers hit him, you know, it was the jab that broke his nose, but then he had the other barrage of punches in the first, second round. He was on top. He knocked him about 5, 6 times. He wasn't knocked out. This guy has a very strong chin. So he's got everything that you would need to be a great athlete. And that's the way I see it. You know, if you see something different, fine. But that's the statement I made. He is by far the greatest athlete to ever live.